ready? And it's exactly 7 o'clock for me, which means it's time to start our webinar on real-time stock visibility from source to store, in which we will explain you why it's so important to gain more visibility into the stock that you have right now. So before we do so, let's quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Steffi Broede. I'm the Global Customer Success Manager of NetApp Retail, which means I want to make sure that our customers fully understand how they can use RFID and how they can get the benefits out of it that they want to get out of it. And today I'm joined by Tom, and maybe Tom, you can also give a brief introduction of yourself.
Yes, thank you, Steffi. My name is Tom Viehweger. I'm working for NetApp in Germany, and I'm working together with retailers and brands to see where RFID, this fascinating technology, fits into their supply chain strategy to finally create stock visibility. Back to you, Steffi.
Thanks a lot, Tom. And before we head into the topic of today, we have some quick house rules. So first of all, the webinar will take about 20 to 25 minutes, after which there will be time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions that come up during this webinar, feel free to put them in the question box at the bottom of your screen. So you see a button that says Q&A, and throughout the entire webinar, you can post questions so that we can answer them at the end. There will also be some polls throughout this webinar, in which we just want to get some quick answers on certain statements. So if you see them popping up on your screen, give an answer that fits your situation the best. And the webinar will be recorded. So if you have a colleague that wants to see the webinar as well, or if you want to watch any of your other webinars again, you can look at our website, and we will also send the recording link to you. And of course, if you're enjoying these webinars, we have seen some people already recurring, and if you enjoy them and think other colleagues should also enjoy these webinars with you, then feel free to like it on our media pages, but also share it with your colleagues. And then it's time to head into what we will cover today. So first, Tom will explain you what RFID exactly is and how that relates to the EPCIS repository. We will cover some use cases, which are the factory, the DC, and the store. And we will look forward how RFID can help you, especially also looking forward. And we are giving you this webinar because we really want to make sure that you fully understand how you can use RFID to your benefit. And we are both from NetApp, and we have quite some experience when it comes to RFID, especially in the retail world. And we think this is a perfect time to really take the time to share this knowledge with you. So again, if you have any questions related to that, you can always ask them. This is a perfect time to do so. So let's start with the content of today. And before we dive into the real-time stock visibility, we want to highlight once more what the benefits are of RFID. And in this case, we're talking about RAIN RFID. RAIN RFID is a technology that allows you to read multiple articles in a really quick way. So it allows for bulk reading that you can easily do from a distance without having any optical contact, which means you can scan closed boxes. And what's probably most unique is that you can have a high data capacity in the labels of your products, which means that you can store more information, add serialization to your product to make everything unique, and to allow to track your products throughout your entire supply chain. And before we go any further, we want to ask a quick question. Some of you may have heard this question already coming back in previous webinars, namely, are you already using RFID? And you should see the options on your screen right now, yes and no. I hope the recurring visitors are leaning more towards yes nowadays. You see some people are still filling it out. We take a couple more seconds. And we want to ask you these questions because we want to understand how much you are already using RFID to make sure you understand which use case is best for you. And we see that we have quite some visitors today, or participants in our webinar, that are not yet using RFID, but we also have some RFID users already, which is great. Hopefully we can We will cover the use case you're covering already, but also give you some new insights on what else you can do with RFID. And before we go to the use cases, I would give the stage to Tom to explain a bit more what EPCIS means.
Yes, let me take you with me on a journey through the classical supply chain to see where we finally can make use of RFID as that fascinating technology, like you just mentioned, Steffi, with bulk reading, distance reading, reading in a closed box, and the data capacity that enables serialization. So normally we start at the point of production in the factory where the items are produced, and then as a next step shipped to a DC, to a distribution center, because this is the place from where the shipments are allocated to the stores, to the point of sales where the products are sold to the customer. But you see nowadays in a world of e-com and omni-channel that this vertical organized supply chain is not as streamlined as it used to be anymore, because items are flowing around more agilely. For example, if a customer orders a product online but returns it in a store, it is a new way how the products are flying through the supply chain, or items are reallocated from one store to another because the system analyzes that the demand is maybe higher in another location or another region. This makes it more complex to keep track of the stock, to keep track of where the products are. And if you then apply RFID to all the points in your supply chain where the status of an item changes or where the location of a product will be changed, then you can create more visibility by registering the product and delivering or sending this read event to a so-called EPCIS repository, which is the RFID platform. But what do we actually register, or how do we create this kind of stock visibility? Each read event consists of 4 different components. It's the what, the when, the where, and the why. The what is the unique ID, the serialized product number of the item. It's a so-called SG-TIN. It's a serialized global trade item number, which is the unique ID of each individual product. The when is the timestamp. It is consisting of a date and a time to know exactly at which time you have seen this specific product. The where is the business location, for example, a store, ADC, or you can even define sub-locations for stores like a front store or a back store, a so-called stockroom. And finally, the why is the business step. So for what reason did you register a certain item? For example, during a count, a goods outbound registration, or a receiving, to know what happened with the product. And you can imagine if you have scanned a product along the supply chain on all the points, on all the read points where the status has changed, where the location has changed, you create a full history and can track and trace this item from end to end. And if we summarize that, this means that using RFID technology, which makes it easy, seamlessly, and efficient to capture products, and the EPCIS, by the way, this complicated term stands for electronic product code, which is the unique ID of a product, information service, and is a global standard that enables to share information about the physical movement and the status of a product. And if you combine those 2 great technologies, you can create and enable real-time stock visibility along the whole supply chain by capturing the what, the where, the when, and the why of stock movements. So with that in mind, I have a question to you again. What do you think in your supply chain? Where exactly do you have the least insights about your stock situation? So my question to you is, what do you think, where is a black box? Where do you have certain black boxes in your supply chain? Is it more in the factory, at the point of production? Is it more in the DC, in the distribution center? Or do you think your biggest black boxes are your stores? Again, we see the first answers already coming in. Giving you a few more seconds to answers. Is it the factory, the DC, or the store? And I think we finally can end the poll. So we have quite an interesting picture. Also, what we have learned that the DC actually is very accurate. It's not a real black box. There are processes applied, and people stay and stick to the processes. The stores, of course, are a little bit. There's a less process compliance, and the factory, of course, is very far away. So I would like, in the next step, to take you exactly to that. A point in the location, in your supply chain, to that location, to the factory, and show you some exemplary use cases, how we can make use of RFID and EPCIS technology to create one or even more real-time insights you would not have without those technologies. So first of all, let's start with a scan pack verification. So with RFID, you can register and finally verify all outgoing shipments from the suppliers to ensure that the stock accuracy is correct, and finally make also the stocks available later in your supply chain. This happens by scanning and comparing the registered products with the expected stock, for example, from a shipment manifest or a shipment notification. What you can do is you ensure supplier compliance, making sure that your suppliers that are sending shipments into your supply chain are working on correct and accurate stock levels. The second point is the monitoring of the EPC consumption. Once again, EPC is the electronic product code, which is the unique identifier of the product, which gives you also the option to track and trace each product individually. And by doing so, you can also associate the destination of a product and see if it has been sent to the correct sales channel or if it appeared in any gray market. And this is the second real-time insight you would not even have without an EPCIS repository, without an RFID stock, without an RFID platform. So going to the next step in the supply chain, which is the DC, we have some more use cases that can be realized with RFID technology. So it's the inbound verification and the packing verification. Inbound, once again, is comparing the ingoing shipments with the expected stock in a box to make sure the DC can work on correct stock level. And the packing verification is one step before the outbound. This is making sure that the right products are in the box right before it's sent, for example, or put on a truck or into the trailer, to make sure that the sales channels where the shipments are going are able to work on correct stock levels. So this ensures shipment compliance. And this is the real-time insight number 3. And by knowing on unique item level what is coming in and what is going out, you also can analyze the age structure of your products. That would not be possible with the standard product numbers or SKUs, the stock keeping units, because they only say this is that product in a certain color or size. With RFID, it's possible to do that on unique item level and ensure that all the products that came in first are also going out first and leave the DC based on the age. To see and give you also a feeling how that looks like in a DC, I would like to show you some read points, some examples how RFID is used, for example, in form of an RFID tunnel. This is necessary to shield the RFID radio waves to make sure that the content of a box is scanned and then verified against the target list. It could also be an RFID chamber. This is a similar read point, but can be operated by one person only, that puts the box into that chamber, starts the read, and after just 2 seconds, you have the result of a shipment is correct or not. And finally, RFID can also be integrated into a table, into a desktop station. This is more and more important, for example, to handle e-com orders, because they are very often packed on a packing table, and this is to make sure that the right products that are sent to the customer home are in the right shipment, so the customer is happy to receive the correct products. And it can also be used for quality control. If you are, for example, as a retailer operating in a multi-label environment and are not sure if your suppliers are sending you RFID source tagged items, you can check it on such a RFID read point and RFID station. So now we leave the DC and go into the retail environment to the point of sale. And this is where I would like to hand over to you, Steffi. What can you tell us? How can we make use of RFID in the stores?
Thank you very much, Tom. And indeed, we arrive at the final destination of most stock in most cases, which is often the store. And what we see in the store is that it's quite a chaotic environment where a lot of flows of goods are taking place. We see products coming into the store, leaving the store, moving throughout the store. And that often makes it quite a messy environment where a lot of inaccuracies can occur. And of course, that's something you do not want. You want to have full stock accuracy in order to have that real stock visibility and in order to make products available. Adding RFID read points at all these flows of goods can help you improving the availability of your goods because you know exactly what goods come into the store, what are moved throughout the store, and which goods are leaving the store. And that can give you the insight of predictive out of stocks. So knowing where the products are allows you to better predict when stock needs to be replenished to stores. Another use case for RFID in the store is omnichannel, where we see that there are a lot of omnichannel initiatives that are actually taking place from the store, such as BOPIS, or click and collect in Europe, or BOSS, which is often called ship from store as well, and smart store applications. So here you see where online meets offline, and in order to have proper and full visibility as input for these omnichannel platforms, you can very well use RFID. And if we then move on to our next slide, we can see the summary once again of all these insights that you can get when you have real-time stock. But what's probably most interesting to see is on the right of the screen, where we can see that an RFID platform actually allows you to capture these insights. So knowing exactly when a product is where and which product is where, and if you capture that data and add read points with RFID, you have a very strong platform that goes over your regular silos in your supply chain and allow you to actually have full visibility of your stock in your store, in your DC, or from the source. And that can be, of course, used for a lot of other systems that you often use as a retailer. And then we move on to our final poll of today, which is which real-time benefit is most relevant to you? And you should see the poll on your screen right now. Is that the supplier compliance, the gray market identification, shipment compliance, first in, first out, or predictive out of stocks? And we give you a few more seconds to fill out this poll as well. We're really interesting to see what benefits are most relevant to you. We take a few more seconds before we end the poll. There we go. Actually, you seem to be very unanimous today, with everyone voting for predictive out of stocks, which was the use case, most predominant use case for real-time stock in the store. And that's very interesting to see. And I think that also aligns well with what Tom is going to present with the outlook. So Tom, I'll hand back to you so that we can see a bit more on the outlook of supply chain operations with RFID.
Yes, of course, I'm not a prophet and I cannot really look into the future and tell you exactly what's happening, but we see exactly now in the times of the lockdown and the crisis and everything that's happening in times of coronavirus, that there are certain trends and that there are certain things accelerated that already happened before, especially the omnichannel growth. If stores are closed, and customers still need to buy certain things, but also retailers want to give access to their products, they adapt e-commerce, marketplaces, and other channels at the moment more and more. And I think, or we here think this is here to stay. So we will see more and more accelerated growth of omnichannel activities. Also omnichannel because the DC capacity, for example, where normally items are shipped from, are nearly getting to the maximum. So in order to still be able to sell, retailers will utilize their stores because they could also ship products directly from the store, especially if a customer lives close by. As a consequence, you see that products and stock is more dynamically flowing through the supply chain. As mentioned already before, there are returns from the customer into the store, but it could also happen that they are sent back to the DC, especially knowing that in the online business, in the e-com, that the return is much higher than in the brick and mortar business, but also allocating products more agilely to other stores makes it more dynamic, makes the product flow more agilely in the supply chain. And last but not least, what we also see what's happening at the moment from a shopper perspective, from an end consumer perspective, that the demand for sustainability and genuine products is growing. So customers and shoppers want to have products that are local, or they want to at least know where the products are coming from and make sure that it's green, so to speak, that it's really sustainable. And by adding those three trends happening at the moment and assuming that this will stay and be a continuous trend, we see an accelerated demand in supply chain digitization. And we think that RFID and EPCIS, or an RFID platform, will help tracking and tracing. Tracking and tracing, of course, to also show from a sustainability perspective where products are coming from, but also to be able to have and work on the correct stock levels and create stock visibility. This is the second point, because if you know where the products are coming from as a retailer or as a brand, this enables you to allocate and replenish or deliver agilely and accurately to the right point and in the right moment and to the customers, making them happy. So finally, a better stock visibility also helps to reduce safety stocks, which is also contributing to the sustainability factor. So this is where RFID shall help, and this is why we believe that this great technology will also be an essential and vital part in a retailer's supply chain strategy. So that's it from my side. Steffi, I think we have also another outlook, and this is the outlook to our next webinar.
Indeed, nice bridge, Tom. We have another webinar coming up in 2 weeks from now. So if you enjoyed this webinar, feel free to also register for this webinar. It will be about RFID label and tagging strategies. And we will collaborate actually with another partner that really wanted to share their knowledge, which is Avery. So I think it's a nice opportunity to ask a lot of questions that you might have. And of course, the webinar registration and recordings can be found on our website. And then I want to thank you all very much for participating. And I also want to thank Tom for being here with me today.
Thank you, Steffi. Same to you.